right? So we'll see.
Yeah, I think we definitely got some action people. I haven't seen.
3 seconds. Okay.
Really, Antonius is the only guy I haven't seen much no limit from. I think he probably stays pretty in line. But I guess we'll see. He's got a badass haircut, so maybe he's got some new style.
Are you primarily a tournament player or a cash game player?
I play both. I don't win in tournaments, but I play.
Don't worry, I know that story too.
Yeah, I play mostly cash games.
Cash games. Maybe let the viewers know. Are you like a 6 max, 9 max, live, online?
I'm a live pro.
Live pro.
Live pro. I like playing in games where everyone's having fun.
Yep.
And you know, the best situation is when you're in a game when everyone's having fun, and that's my skill. Is having a good time with people.
Yep.
And trying to get in good games because of that.
Well, look at this. Already 9,000 euros. Pocket Kings. There's tournaments where 9,000 euros is the buy-in.
Right.
This guy just open raise. And Wang, ST Wang. I don't know if you've ever played with some of these players.
Yeah, I play with all of them except Antonius.
He's ST, right?
Everyone calls him ST. I didn't even know who Wang. Never even seen that before.
So ST 3-bets to 25,000. They are so deep.
I saw for Shanghai Wong, it said Wang as well, but I feel like everyone just calls him Shanghai Wong. So
I know he's from Shanghai, yeah. Let's go with ST. I think it's easier to say.
Right. When I see his face, I think ST.
So is that just a call pre-flop? I believe so.
Spicy flop.
Wow. So actually, this slow play is going to make ST think he's got the best hand usually, because don't you expect your opponent to 4-bet aces and kings a lot?
Right. And what a sick flop once you do call. Give him the top against set.
So how much is that right there? 18,000, a 33% pot bet roughly. So Pocket Kings, are you ever check raising here or you just check calling?
Oh, Kuhn's laying the trap.
Yeah, I like to check call. I feel like if you check raise, you're like gonna blow your opponent off of a hand. A lot of people, when they 3-bet you, they just want to represent ace king, so they're just going bet. But he actually has a hand this time.
Right. There's so many hands. It just looks weak. You know, you can have all the gut shots. You can have King X in the mind of ST. So ST should be pretty confident and just keep blasting here.
Yeah, he is going to blast again. They actually have rubber bands around these chips.
Right.
There's too many of them.
Don't want to be spilling the plaques.
So.
Man, when I see these boards after playing short deck, I'm thinking 7/8 to nuts. Like, get it in there, 7/8. And I've played so little no limit. It's funny seeing this.
Yeah, you're gonna see a deuce and a 5 coming soon.
Oh,
I'm just gonna warn you ahead of time.
I played the main event today or last night, and every time you get a deuce in your hand, it freezes your brain after playing short deck all week.
Well, 56,000 seems like a very reasonable bet. Jason Kuhn here, should he just call again or maybe check raise? What are your thoughts here?
I think I'm calling here. I think the
more likely to get your opponent to just keep blasting at you?
It's so hard for him to be Kuhn to be bluffing when he check raises because, like, in theory, ST has way more ace kings.
Yep.
So it's not like the turn was something, maybe like a 10 or something that you could rep bluffs
but it's
more
like
with
the first
your
hand of the day, who really bluffs all their stacks away. So there was an 8. I think this is going to go check personally. So nice check, and Jason Kuhn's going to show him Pocket Kings. ST's going to be like, what?
Right. That's I kind of think, I know it doesn't seem standard, but if Jason leads the river, it might look bluffier, and it's kind of unlikely ST bets anything except top set and ace king there, and it's hard to have those hands. So it's kind of.
And you're going to still get called by ace king anyways.
Right. You're not losing value. And
that's a good point.
It doesn't kind of make sense, but I think it works.
Yeah. I would say if it was a bluff, it'd be like Queen Jack, Jack 10 with a backdoor flush draw, right? And you see the flush come in, and you're like, okay, I'll just try to make some really weird play, but sometimes when you see weird plays, you call more, right?
Right. It would be if you had Queen Jack and play it that way, or Queen Jack of spades, maybe where you turn spades. That's definitely spewy to just stalk river.
Look, we all don't play perfectly. Of course, we all make mistakes. Even these guys with $1 million in front of them will make mistakes too.
Right. And hopefully more mistakes since it's so big. You know, more mistakes lead to bigger and bigger pots, and that's why we're all watching. I'm thinking. Well,
when I've been watching that $1 million Hong Kong dollar buy-in main event, and people were splashing there. I want to see them do the same thing here. Rui Cao is one of the players that were just like, I don't know, he was playing like, it just didn't seem like he was playing
Rui,
that seriously.
Rui has no fear, and you know, he gets respect for having courage.
Look at his second hand dealt. Paul Foy is 3-betting 9-7 at diamonds in the hijack. I think Paul Foy is more comfortable too. He's like, oh, now we can play for $1 million.
Right. Rui, no way he's folding this. He's taking a flop, trying to win it, trying to stack Paul.
Yeah, trying to flop a set here.
See a little 7-7-4.
Well, the flop misses both players completely. As long as someone takes a stab at it, they will win this pot.
Rui, what you think?
Rui trying to... Oh, he did instantly check, so Paul Foy...
Oh, C-bet.
Yeah, he bet something out there, about 60,000, I think. Yeah.
Paul, you got to show the bluff. Put it in his face. Let him know.
I like Paul Foy. He's always chatty. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, Paul's the man. It sounds like they're talking about some games they played years ago in Macau together. Maybe Paul has some reads from back in the day against Rui, because they haven't played too much lately. They're kind of on different stratosphere for Paul, of course. Shanghai Wong, he's a notorious dude in Macau over the years.
I know he's known to play like the biggest games, one of the best, right?
Yeah, he's got it's going to be interesting to see what he does, because Shanghai Wong, you know, he's learned poker on his own, and he has some serious tricks.
I would love to see these serious tricks.
Right. He has some serious tricks. I've seen him. I forget exactly, but it was like he min-raised someone in like the biggest pot in this game once, and then just started laughing. He just wouldn't stop laughing after he min-raised bluffed the river. I think it might have been against Andrew Roble, and Andrew Roble like folded, and then
he showed.
It got to show, yeah.
No, it's great to hear these stories.
Yeah, he's good for the game.
Elton Sang, I don't know if you're familiar with Elton Sang at all.
Yeah, Elton.
He won the $1 million Monte Carlo tournament.
Right.
Most what he's known for.
He's really good, and from that tournament, what I understand is they weren't letting all the pros in. And
yeah, he was like the best player that was playing, right?
Right, and they saw his name, they're like, oh, let a guy from Asia play, and then he just smashed him up. So nice job, Elton.
Well, look at this. ST has flopped a flush. Is he going to check raise or going to check call here? That is a check raise.
Yeah, it's like what, 55, 53.
Elton here. It's going to have to let go of this 8-high flush draw.
I think both these guys are pretty
familiar with these rose games.
They're pretty straightforward. I've never seen these guys do anything crazy. They're on the nitty side, but they're very solid. They definitely got some moves. They're smart guys. They've won a lot of money in poker.
Well, so just because someone is tight, I like to say that if you've got a tight image, look for a spot to bluff, because the credit, you're going to get so much more credit than normal.
Right. And these two dudes for sure are going to be going for it.
Someone like Rui Cao, he's got a terrible image in my opinion. I don't know if that's true in cash games he plays, but from what I've seen, all he wants to do is try and bluff people.
Yeah, he has no fear, and that's why it's cool. We haven't seen any multi-waste yet. These guys, maybe they're just warming up.
So, when you play live cash games, how many people are usually playing at a table?
I try to avoid 9-handed games.
But they do exist.
They do, yeah, they exist, but
I understand that sometimes there's like an empty seat for like the VIP, so sometimes I guess it's shorter-handed, maybe like 6-handed.
Right. In the Macau public games, it's usually 8 or 9-handed with a VIP seat. But the short deck stuff hasn't played 9-handed in a long time.
I see. And is short deck more popular now, or is it kind of still both games running?
Well, it's not legal in Macau yet.
Sure.
So it's not going to be more popular yet. But from what I can tell, every single person who plays it after playing No Limit likes it and thinks it's better. And
so it will be more popular.
It's no doubt growing
at least in the Asia scene.
Right. In Triton, they're talking about running a smaller buy-in short deck tournament.
Yep.
Maybe the next stop in Jeju. So hopefully that'll get more of the tournament pros who are kind of scared off by the big buy-in to flick it in there and and kind of get their feet wet.
Funny, that's the first time I ever seen short deck. I was watching, I was like, I feel like I know how to play the game, but I don't want. I feel like when I put my money in, I'm going to lose it very fast.
Yeah, it's cool because people can. Let's see if we got a hand here. I guess it's not going to be.
Like Wang Chang is going to bet here pocket sixes. I wasn't sure. I think he's a pre-flop raiser, but Shanghai Wang is flop.
Shanghai Wong is what everyone calls him.
Yeah, Shanghai Wang. I'll go with that. And I believe his name is Chong Wong.
And then ST got a little
Just call there. Trapping. Now, have you ever played with Chong Wong at all? This guy here?
That's Shanghai Wong. Yeah, actually I played with him a couple nights, or we played all night a few days ago.
So he's this guy's Shanghai Wong.
That's Shanghai Wong. That's ST.
Okay, I thought you guys were saying the same thing. Now I figured it out.
The guy with pocket sixes, Shanghai Wong calls Shanghai Wong.
Let's go with that.
The guy who's going to win this hand with King Queen, that's ST. Yeah, I played some big pots with him the other night, and he's kind of crazy and he's action sometimes.
All right, well, ST is going to call here. 35,000 euros.
I'm guessing they've played a bunch and they're familiar with each other, and I would think Shanghai Wong isn't gonna go for it. Like ST, when you're on the river against ST, he usually has a good hand. Especially when he's check calling.
Ambitious bluff here, but sometimes when you got such a bad hand on the river, you just feel obligated when more cards look scary. This would be
right. Maybe he bets like 400,000, just goes for it.
Yeah, 400,000. That'd be intense.
Like, you know, if he was the pre-flop raiser, he has more aces, ace kings.
To be fair, yes.
And it looks like he's charging the flush.
He is going to bet again.
Oh, he's trying to get an ace to fold.
I would like that more time.
But I don't think he's going to fold an ace to that size. So.
ST here. He's got King Queen. I think this is just a mandatory call. Sometimes you're up against a flush. No real reason to raise. Find like you usually don't get worse to call.
Yeah, raise. There'd have to be some crazy dynamics to ever consider raising.
And we just started this session, so that's not possible. So love to see.
Yes, he's just maybe forgot what he has.
No, don't do that. No, you did not do that. ST.
Oh my God, that hurts. That hurts me.
That hurts me. Can we get those cards back?
Why did he fold? He had the king.
No.
He didn't.
The nutted king, right? Like, okay, maybe if you had like King 10, you can maybe make an excuse, right? But the nutted king is
the nutted king, and he could have so many worse hands that he can happily fold the ace maybe if he wants to find some folds.
Right, like you should be. Oh, that's like the top of his range. That wasn't a 5-card hand.
I didn't think I could be tilted by this sitting here right now, but here I am. Like I'm steaming.
Yeah, that is a crazy fold. Wait, maybe there's some crazy history we don't know about, but Shanghai Wong made a great play, was able to win with pocket sixes somehow.
He only bet half pot. Like I think that's just unexcusable. Unexcusable
he
fold.
did it. But he did it.
Right, he did it. And yes, right there, we already see some Shanghai going for it, assuming the cards are right, because
they're right. They have been right all day.
Okay. Well, in that case, props to Shanghai Wong for working that one out.
Elton saying Ace King is going to make the raise. The one-drop winner.
I used one time.
All
Order
right.
Patrick Antonius.
All right, we're going to find out a lot about Antonius right now if he gets it in there. Nope.
Right. See, some people will call here, right? Especially like with the ante.
Right, I'm seeing a flop. Got a 6-5. I guess that's my short deck brain spewing a little bit.
I would say that it's probably like barely winning and barely losing, but usually I think in a game like this, I would expect people to splash a little bit more just because it's like a friendly, unique scenario where you might want to see some flops. That's my read. I would call.
It's friendly, but it's so big. It's such a big game that like I feel like the bigness of it trumps the fact that they're all having a good time and feeling chill.
This is 20K, 40K Hong Kong, so it's like
But
5K US.
definitely some people would defend the 6-5 offsuit.
Right. You're gonna have Tom Dwan in here in a second talking about it, and he'll.
Yeah, he's gonna want to take those cards back with the King Queen. I'll tell you that.
Right. Can't imagine what you think. All right, let's get some multi-way action going. Y'all need to flick these chips in.
Every pot's been heads up so far. I believe the live cash games usually do see multi-way pots a lot more, right?
Yeah, but no limit hold'em. Everyone knows that you should kind of play tight and.
Sure.
That's me. Yeah, you can put that.
I hope this game loosens up. We are 250 big blinds deep for everyone, so a lot of creativity can be done.
Yeah, maybe Elton.
So is Elton going to call her out of position?
Just looks like snap fold.
I think he just snap folded.
Didn't even think about 4-betting him.
I think we need like a Tom Dwan to spice things up. Usually it's like when one guy splashes, then someone else comes along, then this guy comes along.
Yeah. I was playing in Tom Cito in I had a seat for a few minutes. I thought I was going to get in there, and he has kind of the tighter players on his right. So if he does end up taking that seat, you know, it seemed like there was whole musical chairs about who got it. And if he gets that seat, it might be a one where he shouldn't splash too much. But
Sure.
what do I know? He'll do his thing no matter what. He doesn't care
Sometimes you
what anyone
gotta. Sometimes you're like. Sometimes you know you should do something, but you just do the opposite, right?
Right.
Like, I'm gonna show him up today.
says. Right, especially on the biggest cash game ever televised. You gotta show the people what they want. You gotta show them a little.
You only got one chance, right? You gotta wait till the next trip.
Right, you gotta get in there with the Jack 4 suited or the 9-3 suited.
This is the Rui count I expected to see. Jack 4 suit and cutoff, not a standard raise. Antonio's a Queen Jack offsuit. I don't think he's gonna fold. Is he reaching for re-raising chips? Hey, everyone's reaching for re-raising chips. That's what I've noticed.
Right, let's see if Rui puts up with this.
That's the best time to go, for sure. The weather's perfect.
This attack.
But look at Shanghai Wong. Does he continue her Ace Jack?
Stands
Be
up
interesting.
every time he comes up.
Maybe a call, maybe a 4-bet?
Yeah, I remember.
It's very early in the cash game right now. I think a 4-bet is a viable option if you realize that everyone's re-raising a bunch of junk.
Right, and especially if, you know, Rui has a bad image, it makes sense that someone would 3-bet him on the button the first chance they got with a decent hand.
Yep.
And
We'll see what he thinks. I don't think he wants to fold.
Yeah.
That's 100.
making it
right there.
114 to go.
This guy knows how to play. I'll tell you that.
Right. He's got moves.
Something different up there.
You know, if you see him, you might just think, oh, you know, Chinese VIP, but this guy's got moves.
No, I've learned, do not disrespect anyone. They may not play the way you expect to play, but they do some things that are actually pretty good. Like, I was watching some players play, I'm like, oh, that's kind of loose, but then they were getting some sick value where I'm like auto-checking. So they actually play their image very well. They understand how people perceive them and can really make nice plays.
Right, also, live reads are a real thing. And if you know you're an internet player and you can play with these guys, they might just tear you up. You might get torched.
Well, he's gonna let that one go.
Well, I guess good fold, but he's still got bluffed in a way, you know, like.
Yeah, no, I would consider this a 4-bet bluff because not everyone will 4-bet ace jack here.
Right, you're not supposed to kind of.
Like, most people just go, oh, side fold. I only put in the big blind anyways.
Yeah, so once Shanghai Wong gets rolling, you know, he might keep it going too. He's not the type to just wait for aces all night.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it. Okay, we've only played like 5 hands. This guy's bluffed a guy off of king queen trips. Just instantly 4-bet the first opportunity of ace jack.
Right, didn't really hesitate. He was just like, oh, I got a 4-bet. This is the play.
And actually, it's probably hugely plus EV, and I think so. I just feel like people are very 3-bet happy right now. And here's an open from Elton saying he's been actually picking up some hands, but he's down 80,000 euros right now. Paul Fall 10-9 offsuit.
Get in there, Paul.
So it'll be a loose call, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it. He's got position. You can always make an excuse when you're in the button.
Oh, Paul, why you folding? Busting.
Hey, don't worry. Give him some time. Bill Ivy in the big line.
Just impatient. I want to see the chips fly.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How important is like live tells, would you say? Or like live reads? Because, you know, a lot of online people are like, oh, it's overrated, blah, blah, blah. But when they start playing more live, they start to realize it is more important.
Right. I just know in my experience, it's made me a lot of money. And against people that are better than me when they just can't keep their body under control or something like that.
So maybe like in the tweener spots, the really close ones, this is when the live tells can become much more important.
Right, and yeah, it matters a ton. And if I know, for example, or not to call him out, but no, I'm gonna call him out. Whatever, Jungle Man. Like, you know, years ago when he was getting new to it, he's obviously such a super expert at no limit hold'em. But he'd get in big games and he just like he couldn't keep it together. Now it's clear that he's thought about that and how it's giving away money. You know, when a river card shows up and getting mad, or I know one of my favorite ones is just if I'm like betting the river but I don't have the nuts and I'm scared of getting raised and I'm like, I know it's tough, and then the person does a thing where you know they're not going to raise when they're kind of giving away they're going to call, and then all of a sudden you can relax and if you want you can chat to them. But like that's just a simple one that just saves you a lot of decisions just when you know someone.
Oh, sure.
has gone down a certain path in their
Like
brain.
he can't like all of a sudden just pop out of a raise. That would be insane, right?
Right.
We got a multi-way pot coming here though. Let's talk about this. 3 suited aces, 1 pocket nines, and a inside straight draw for Shanghai Wang.
I think Shanghai Wong is going to work this one out somehow. He's the only one with kind of a cool hand. No one else has too big of a piece.
Well, if he puts 2 barrels in here, I'm almost certain he's going to win this pot.
And he's not folding. He's on the button.
Pre-flop raiser is Paul Fua right now. He checks. The blinds usually have nothing in this board.
And I guess Paul raised pre. Cutoff makes sense.
It's already in action. So it's about 18,000. About a third of the pot.
Interesting size. You know, this might...
Well, it's going to get Phil Ivey to come along. I think Elton probably should fold, right? After a bet and a call. He might call just because he got the backdoor
flush draw, super deep.
Yeah. So he's got the potential.
He might even raise. I mean, he knows Shanghai enough that he might think he can get away with, you know, doing something.
So if he knows Shanghai Wang is betting a lot, he knows Ivy's on call of any like middling pairs. If he check raises here, which he does, he's going to get the guy who just betting because he's on the button, and then Ivy's just going to fold his mid pairs, right?
Right. Now we get to see if Shanghai Wang is going to
pretty sick play.
Hey, look who it is. Tom.
没人逼你打好了，你谁给谁把折？
Shanghai Wang, yeah, peel this.
Oh, Shanghai Wang is going to peel up the ace-4 high right now.
Hey guys, it's Tom Dwan. I just stole Gabe's headset just to throw in there. I think Shanghai Wang has the "I'm about to do something crazy" look.
All right, Tom looks like that's a good read because he just put in 80,000 euros. And
turns 2 pair. Well, this crazy move won't work now because Elton's got 2 pair aces up.
He won't need to do the crazy move because he's got a top pair.
So imagine Elton's going to keep betting here, right? He's not going to put Shanghai Wang on ace-king because Shanghai Wang didn't 3-bet Paul Fua. So he actually shouldn't really be worried about anything and to be willing to get all the money in, technically.
Right. 4-5 is
4-5 would be the only hand you're really worried about, and occasionally deuces and threes.
Yeah, set of deuces and 4-5. He probably thinks he has a king. He's probably not going to get too greedy with these bets because is that 120?
120. So I like the smaller bet because his opponent most likely has king, queen, king, jack if he's going to continue. Occasionally he has a hand like ace-4 and ace-5.
Yes, there's the ish.
So I don't ever expect Shanghai Wang to fold this turn just because he's stronger than what he's perceived to have.
I mean, if Shanghai Wang just ripped it all in, I mean, it sounds crazy, but like
Tom's laughing in the background.
What's he gonna call with? He's gonna look him up at the set, put all the money in when he puts it all in.
Well, they're playing 250 big blinds deep. He does make the call, so we're coming to a river. He's got 23%. River's a jack. Doesn't really change anything. But if I'm Elton here, I think I'm betting pretty big. I'm going to hope Shanghai Wang river 2 pair of like king jack.
Yeah, you got to bet this. You got to bet this. There's no bluffs that you can, you know, if you check and you're hoping he bluffs, what could he have?
Usually what happens is if you check, your opponent just check back and you just give him a free showdown like king, queen, ace-5, ace-4.
Right, there's no air balls that he could have really, unless he just floated, you know, made it in suicide float type of thing.
The only air ball I can see, and I can only see is because I'm a DJ and I see 4-6 suited and like 5-6 suited.
Yeah, where the 5-6 at?
What are you playing over there now?
How's your guys'
Elton,
game going? Where are you guys playing heads
the
up?
one-drop champion's going for a big bet, I believe.
I asked him how your guys' heads-up game was going.
I think he's looking for a snap call, Chips.
I just had breakfast one morning, asked him what he was up to, and he said you guys were playing heads up.
He
I
bet
was like,
like
oh, that's cool.
200,000, so he's basically trying to size against king, queen.
2 weeks session.
Wow, that's long. I've had
Yeah,
a
he's
couple
just
buddy
doing the
grudge
old.
matches, but
Take
He
your money
makes the
back.
call and gets shown the bad news. All right, so
Well,
thank you, Gabe, and
Adios.
let's get Tom Dwan in here.
3大了。
20 million US.
So nice big pot. That's 457,000 euros.
So you guys are
Elton.
gonna make this difficult for me, huh? I just missed the hand with the 2 guys I know.
But that was like the biggest pot of the tournament. I mean, not of the cash game.
Did you hear me call out the 200,000 before you bet
No,
it?
I didn't hear you say 200. You got it exactly to the T?
I mean, not that I was claiming he was. No, I just thought around 200.
You're so good, Tom. Everyone's been waiting. You know, when I'm like on
No,
the
that's not
stream,
true.
they just
Elton always got me.
Yeah, Elton always got you.
Always got me. It's just I've learned from Elton get me so much. Oh, here's the size he's gonna bet.
Well, so you've played with everyone, roughly?
I don't know the whole table, but I think
so.
so.
Paul, of course, you played with, right?
Shanghai
Wong, you played it with, and Rui Cao.
Yeah, of course.
Yep, Rui. And ST you played with, I assume.
Yeah, a lot.
Yep. Bill Ivey.
Yeah.
Maybe Jason Kuhn you haven't played with too much?
Not that much full deck cash games. No.
Right.
Really not that much.
Well, look at this. Shanghai Wong's already raising again of ace-5 offsuit. He's going to think that Elton is attacking him.
What's going on here? It's just 1,000, 2,000, right?
1,000. Yes, I believe it is.
That's a pretty big open.
Wait, is it
14,000.
2,000, 4,000? Are the blinds higher than I
Oh,
expected?
it looks like it might be 2-4.
2-4. Okay, this.
I don't know. I can't really tell. Oh yeah, it is 2-4. 2-4, 4,000.
Okay, wow. So I thought it was going to be 1,000, 2,000. I guess the game just doubled. Okay. Just big. So you're mainly playing short deck, long deck. Which one is what's happening in the scene right now?
When I have my choice, I'm. Oh, hang on. Rick House said 1 round. I
Change it
don't
to a
know.
straddle game right away.
Nah.
We've already played like 2 rounds, right? Come on.
Oh, they want to play bigger.
It's time to pump it up. Right, Ivy? Sure.
I think these are these 1,000 chips?
These are 1,000 chips. So this is 2-4 with the big blind ante of 4,000.
Okay.
But I think they were discussing the straddle, right?
Right. That's why I was trying to listen in.
We'll take a look at the big winner right now. Is 429,000 for Elton, saying everyone's bought in for an even million. Shanghai Wong is down 284,000 right now. Yeah, so what's more popular? Are you mainly playing short deck, or like what are the people playing, short deck or long deck?
Well, I mean, regular Nolan Hold'em's definitely, long deck's definitely more popular. Way more people play it. Not that many people are playing short deck.
Okay.
But a lot of the bigger gamblers are playing it because it's regular Nolan Hold'em. If you're playing a 7 or 8 handed table, especially if there's a bunch of pros at the table and 1 or 2 fish or businessmen or whatever you want to call them, it's kind of like they're not really going to win enough days, right? If they play the whole week, they're going to lose a lot of days out of the week, and that's where kind of Omaha was good, right? Because people could play, and if a businessman plays, they're going to win 2 or 3 days out of the week a lot of times. So it feels a lot better, right? You don't want it to feel so predatory. Short deck, they're winning 3 out of 7 days for sure. If not, short deck, it's easy to get in there gambling. All right, so this hand. We were talking too much about short deck. I missed the action. Did Wayne raise?
Just raise and call. Shanghai Wong was the raiser. He flopped the pair.
10% discount on these.
Actually, Elton defended 9-7 offsuit on the button. Probably not a standard raise. Standard call. But I guess just wants to play as many pots with Shanghai Wong right now because they've been interacting so much. Maybe if he gets the right flop, he can really make a play at him.
I think especially when he just beat him in 2 pots, he's probably hoping to...
Look at this.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a funny flop float. But I think especially when he just beat him in 2 pots, he's probably hoping to be able to hit something versus him and thinking he can...
Actually, the 9, I bet you he thinks it's good, right? Like, a decent amount.
Well, now that Shanghai Wong checks, I think he'll think his 9's good a lot of the time. I would expect Elton to bet you a lot.
I'm losing 70, right?
Yes.
Well, he's going to try and get... Well, I guess you can check or bet. It doesn't really matter. We'll see what he decides to do. But I assume
I'm not sure that I would bet it, but I think Elton will bet like 45 or something.
You mean a lot?
Close. 34,000. About half the
The
pot.
last couple of years, I've got to play some really good ones, yeah.
Well, Shanghai Wong's going to check call here, I imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine him folding.
Yeah, that was good.
Or racing.
Those were good games,
Well, anything's possible.
Yeah, in pretty good stakes.
104,000 euros in there right now.
They don't run very often that size, so it's good to get to play that. It was like 600, 1,200, 300, 600, 1,200. Yeah.
Should be making a call shortly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like poker after that.
You missed an insane hand earlier that Shanghai
Yeah.
Wong bluffed
Got played
ST
like
off a trip
Played just one time to
kings.
be cash game.
Ace, king, king. He
France,
folded king,
very
queen on the
small.
river.
Really?
And he had pocket
25,
sixes.
50.
Shanghai Wong. It was ace, king,
Oh, yeah?
king, number, jack of spades, and the flush got the river. It was just a half pot bet for
This
84,000
makes
euros.
Mistakes.
absolutely no sense to me.
Why he just
Different
check raised them?
I really don't understand this. So
Yeah.
basically, this
fun,
board, right?
more creativity.
It's ace 8-4. The turn's a 9. There's.
fun, though.
It's very easy to have 6-7. Shanghai Wong even could have bet the flop with, you know, jack 10, queen 10, something like that.
Yep.
And then there's also 2 flush draws. So,
Just
I
seems like
think-
he's slightly overplaying his hand.
well, I think that Shanghai Wong, you know, it's very easy for him to be bluffing there.
Yes.
And so I don't think it makes much sense for him to turn his ace-3 effectively into a bluff.
Right.
If Elton calls, of course he's going to have Shanghai Wong beat, or he's going to have a draw and potentially be putting a bunch of pressure on.
So basically, kind of like you're slightly ahead or way behind when you get called on the turn. Like, if Elton called him there, he's like almost always beat.
Either beat or Elton has a big draw and he's
Right,
going to be
right.
able to bluff him a lot of the time on the river if he chooses to.
If he's willing, unless he's willing to put the other 500,000 in there.
And the other thing is, Shanghai Wong was in such a good position there if he just calls the turn. You know, his hand is, I don't know that I would say it's underrepresented for a lot of people, but with the situation of, okay, Shanghai Wong is losing, a lot of times he's a player who likes to gamble a lot, I don't think Elton would think he has an ace quite that often when he calls 34,000 there. You know, maybe he can call a river bet. I think he turned a situation that was pretty controllable where he was in a good
high
spot.
variance situation.
Yeah, where he's going to be blowing off the best hand a bit.
Well,
And I wouldn't have minded it at all if Shanghai Wong had raised there as a bluff.
yes,
But it seemed a little funny to me to raise with an ace.
right. Well, he's in another pot, this time with Jason Kuhn. He's got a gut shot. He's going to bet this one.
I imagine Jason's going to call here.
Yeah, Jason Kuhn's going to call again.
If he raises, I'm really going to be confused. I'm going to leave the commentating booth.
Shanghai Wong actually. Well, turn ace is not a good card to keep barreling. Usually your opponent has an ace or a king. Not looking to fold when you've been playing every single pot so far.
Yeah, that seems about right to me.
Just check. Kuhn's going to check. For his full house, he's got queen high.
I wouldn't be that surprised if Shanghai Wong check called here.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, check call wouldn't actually be that bad of a play because your opponent's going to have like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, and then they got field 8 must bluff, right?
Or even, you know, 5-3 suited or something, Jack 10 suited.
Yep. Just some kind of high card hand that got.
Well,
or-
I'm saying a gut shot.
Yep.
That I think it's very possible Shanghai calls, you know.
a half pot bet. He's definitely good at reading the texture to consider calling with queen high.
I also don't know that Jason would bluff him here that much.
Sure. But the good thing is Jason actually going for value with this king. Some nitty players will just check back here, right? Just because, oh, you know, I'm never getting called by worse. But I like to say if you can get someone to call for worse, give them the excuse to make a call.
Right. Well, and I think it's also pretty hard for someone to bluff this spot. You know, the most they can do is make a small raise against you, because Jason can have an ace in his range a bit of the time. Not as much when he checks the turn, but still some.
Well, Jason Kuhn wins 67,000 euros there. Full house. The action's been pretty fast, and we haven't even played that much.
Especially on Shanghai Wong's part.
Yeah.
Shanghai Wong's been in there firing.
Yeah, he's been playing about 85% of the pots.
Callan
11 years.
I have my breaks before.
I want to see him make like a
11?
big bluff, you know, and just like really get someone and get someone tilted or
Cheap,
something.
why not 30? Huh?
25 is a bit too
Shanghai is pretty fun to play with.
25 is good.
We like it, yeah.
So Shanghai Wong, let's see if he plays this spot.
You like it,
I think he's in. Pocket kings, this is the perfect timing. His image is set up perfectly right now.
That's true.
If someone 3-bets him, he's going to 4-bet. They won't be able to fold.
Everyone is clearly on tilt. In every hand.
It's all about calling him out.
Wow.
Catch folded queen
Runs a little bad there, huh? he would have gotten action pretty wide from people, I think.
Yeah. I might have actually considered defending Queen 8, given that I feel like he's playing every pot. I mean, is that a mistake, or?
Yeah, I don't think that.
Long live poker.
Basically, he's playing a bit aggressive and putting a lot of chips in. So trying to play a hand like Queen 8 offsuit out of position,
It's like
you're not going to have
profiting that much, or it's losing a little bit.
Yeah, you're not going to have a very easy time. I think.
I guess you got to be prepared to call down. Otherwise, if you're not prepared, then you might as well just muck it pre-flop.
Well, and Shanghai Wang's, he's actually quite a good player. You know, he sometimes he does fire in a little too much money and gamble, and
Sure.
I you know,
Some
think a
random
lot of these
fundamentals, but then like he's got a good grasp of like trying to win pots and things like that.
Yes, and I think a lot of these guys at the table, you know, at least in this specific table, are more likely to win in this game than Shanghai Wang is. But basically, trying to defend a hand like Queen 8, Shanghai Wang can hand read pretty good. He can put pressure on. You're not going to really hit a big hand that often.
Sure.
And it's kind of the thing where if you're playing someone who you think maybe is about to tilt off or give away some money, maybe you want to call 6-7 offsuit and hope to hit a big hand against them or something.
At
But
least
Queen
make
8
a straight or make a flush or something.
Right. Or suited, of course, yeah. But okay, so here looks like this should be a decent pot.
Yeah, Jason Kuhn was the pre-flop raiser. Continuation bets his inside straight draw, backdoor flush draw, off wall.
He should be calling here.
Should be calling.
I'd be very surprised if anything else happens.
He is going to check call. A 9 would be a fun card for him. Turns a jack. So I expect Jason Kuhn to usually check back here. It's hard to get your opponent to fold. It does. Where's an ace? I'm getting the vibe it's going to go check, check. Yep. So Paul Fall is going to win this 66.
I don't know. Jason didn't. I
I've
think
been reading the action. You've been you're the live player watching the actual players make the checks or not. But I imagine Paul Fall will check, right? Like,
yeah, Paul's almost got to check here. But I wouldn't be that surprised if Jason bets. I think it's a very good card to bet.
You
I think
expect
I'd bet it a lot of the time.
Jack, right? Like if oh, I just went check. I was gonna say Jason Kuhn, he checks him again. He probably expects Paul to bet a jack on the river.
Not necessarily. I mean, Paul could check raise a jack a lot of the time, but still, Jason just has so many aces here. He raised pre-flop, he bet once, and then he checked the turn.
Right.
And if he bets the river, I think Paul actually folds there a bit of the time.
Fair enough.
So I'm a little surprised Jason just checked it so quickly. I don't know their history. Maybe Jason bluffed Paul 5 pots in a row, and he's like, oh, he's calling me this time. I'm not sure. But I think if I was in Jason's spot there, I would have thought about it.
We are playing this €1 million cash game right now. Blinds are 2,000, 4,000, 4,000 ante. Blinds are bigger than tournaments I've seen. Jason Kuhn's going to make it 10,000. Do you think 10,000 is kind of a smaller raise given the antes and blinds?
I think I'll be raising 10 or 12 when I get in there, depending on what seat I'm at. I think when you're this deep, that's a little more of an option. When you're, I'm sure there's arguments of one size being a little better than another, but when you're shorter stacked, it's more important. When you're shorter stacked, there is a bigger difference between. Sometimes you should only raise 2.5 times the blind or 3 times or whatever, and if people do 4 times, it costs you more. When you're this deep stacked, it's not as big of an issue.
Well, Kuhn bets small on the flop, induces Shanghai Wang to call with just queen 5 high.
I actually don't mind this call from Shanghai Wang.
Yeah, I think his call is fine against the sizing. I think Jason Kuhn specifically bet the small sizing to get Shanghai Wang to try and make a play at him.
Right, but I think Jason would bet this with a lot of his hands on this flop.
Now he's betting big pot size bet. I guess he's just hoping that Shanghai Wang check called an ace and turned an ace. Trying to get some value.
Because you have the bet money 40K.
Okay. Thanks, Tom, for having me.
No, you're out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will see you guys later.
You going on that one or this one?
All right, I'm back. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Tatiana.
What's up?
We were just watching Shanghai Wong throw a bunch of money in there.
Oh, I don't even want to tell you what I just saw.
Oh, you have some news.
I mean,
So this
you'll see
commentary
30 minutes.
booth, we're on a 30-minute delay, and Tatiana was out there cheating,
spoilers. No
watching
spoilers. It
watching
was-
some of the action
There's
live.
some sick action happening.
No spoilers. There's some sick action. As
Well, no, actually, yeah. Dang it. That's kind of like when McClane got his Star Wars ending spoiled.
oh, that's a brutal one. Which Star Wars?
I think the latest one. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I don't watch Star
It's
Wars.
not one
I
of the
watch-
big ones.
I'm a Trek.
Why is Ivy in there with the 7 deuce? Do you know if they're playing a bounty?
I don't think they are.
Do you know about the 7 deuce bounty that
No.
people play sometimes? So, 7 deuce is basically the worst hand in No Limit Hold'em, and sometimes it's a thing they'll do in cash games, where if someone wins the hand with the worst hand, everyone at the table pays them a bounty, and it makes the game pretty interesting. Because then, normally there might be a spot, right, where if you walked up on the table, you'd be like, oh, I'm not exactly sure what these people have, but it looks like they all think they have a good hand. Whereas when you're playing the 7 deuce bounty, you would walk up on the table and be like, ooh, it looks like they all think they have a good hand, or maybe 7 deuce. And so it makes it pretty interesting. But I guess they're not playing it because Ivy didn't show it and collect a bunch of money from everyone.
Who came up with that? Is that something that they're just playing at these games, or is it like a worldwide thing?
That's like a worldwide thing.
Oh, okay.
As far as who came up with it, some degenerate that was probably stuck money somewhere. I don't know. But it's fun. Ivy's looking so serious there.
He's always looking so serious. Giving me such anxiety.
Ivy, I think, won the first tournament here, right?
Yeah, he did.
First short deck tournament.
So, how long have you been playing short deck?
About a year, I think. A little over a year and a half. Oh, so here we have Shanghai Wong throwing some money in. So, when you have a jack and a 7, I don't know how much No Limit Hold'em you play, Tatiana, but you normally
every day.
you normally don't put a lot of money in the pot. That's not very good cards. And Shanghai Wong's actually gambling a bit lately. So everyone at
Okay.
the table is going to be kind of expecting him to do that.
Why do you think
even
he's
more
doing
so, I think he lost a few pots and he.
He's a little upset. Maybe?
Yeah, maybe it just wants to put some money in there. And it's not that he raised on the button. It's not the worst thing to be raising this Jack 7. And
See,
this is actually quite a neat bet from Jason. He bet a really small bet into this Ace 8 2 flop when he has nothing really. He has King 6. And I think he might have ended up winning the pot for it a lot of the time, but then Shanghai Wong hit a pair.
Hit a pair. He's also looking super intense in this picture.
Who? Shanghai
Jason.
or? Shanghai Wong's a funny guy to play with. He sometimes will look very intense and then show up with a hand that makes no sense and just start laughing.
Oh my gosh. I could see that being fun, but sometimes frustrating.
He's fun to play with.
What do you have, SD? What do you have?
I had king high, and he.
King what? I saw the king.
King 6 off.
King 6.
Thank you.
That's good hand.
And there you have Paul in there trying to find out everyone's hand, figure out. So the reason he asked that actually is because Shanghai Wong raised on, I think, the button. Jason called the big blind.
25%.
And then Jason bet 8,000. The pot was, I think, right about 30,000,
Okay.
which is a pretty funny move, meaning it's not something you'd see that normally. So Paul was extra curious. Oh, what did this guy have? That's weird. And that's something that'll happen a lot. Basically, if you do something normal, meaning if you raise on the button, I call, I check, you bet, I fold,
Yeah.
you're not that curious. What did the guy have?
Fair enough, yeah.
But here, Jason made a funny bet, and so Paul was trying to notice. Oh, what did he do there?
See, I always thought when did televised poker like really become like mainstream? But they started doing these like live streams and showing whole cards. I always thought poker players wouldn't like that because sometimes you don't want to show.
Yeah, I think that there's
Did that
some
change the
downside
dynamic?
to that, and that can change the dynamic some. But I think it's nice. It's nice to give people a window into here's how I play a lot of the time. I wouldn't want people to be able to see my cards every single time I play. But for for a day here and there, if it's a day every few months, I think it's kind of neat. It lets other people see.
But it gives also your opponents, like, when you're playing high rollers, there's only there's only so many people that are playing it. So technically, I could go back and like watch quite a few of your final tables or whatever and study you.
That's very true, right? And people do that, and I think it's probably worth something for them to do, especially if people don't change their game. And so because of that, you kind of need to be cognizant of like, ooh, maybe the last few years I was bluffing a lot on TV. Ooh, now maybe I should bluff less.
Well, that's awesome because it forces you to change your style.
Right, and it makes it more interesting. Instead of you just playing the same way for 20 years straight, you need to change everything pretty regularly.
So do you
so just now Paul said no one does that anymore because Patrick just called under the gun. He didn't raise. And basically, this used to happen all the time, and it still will happen a lot of times if you go to a game in a casino that a lot of people there might just call hands. But a lot of pros will very rarely to almost never what we call limp in, meaning just call a hand. They will open raise. And especially with an ante in the game, you can get away with it, and it's kind of fun. And when you're this deep stacked, it changes the game a little, and it confuses people some. And so I don't mind this play by Patrick. Now, actually, you would kind of guess that he had a hand just like this when he limped.
Wow.
If you were to guess, you would say maybe he has a small pair.
Yeah.
And so I would expect Patrick's going to have a hard time winning this hand, because Jason's probably going to guess he has a lot of hands, like small pairs, and put a bit of pressure on him.
So is this I mean, it's fun to do it, but now Patrick got himself in a little bit of a pickle?
That's fair enough to say, yeah. And I think that there's, Patrick could have a hand like ace-4 of spades, ace-8 of spades, something like that, and sometimes even bigger hands. Sometimes he could have been being tricky with, ace-jack, something like that. So
you don't think that he was putting him on a pair?
No, I would guess Jason thinks Patrick has a number of pairs in his range, and especially when he just calls the flop. So I would expect Jason to put a bit of pressure here and bet the turn and possibly the river. And
did he check? He did.
Yeah, he did check, and kind of quick. And I think this is maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity by Jason, where I'm not sure. Maybe Jason's played with Patrick more lately than I have, and has reason to be worried about Patrick having an ace here. But I think Jason could have bet 50,000 on the turn and bet the river a decent amount of the time and won that pot very often.
So do you think that these guys are playing differently than in the States? That they play a little more, like the style is different?
Well, so this game is 2,000, 4,000, and everyone started with $1 million. So that's 250 big blinds.
Yeah.
Whereas often if you go to a casino, people can buy in for 100 big blinds. And at 100 big blinds deep, doing something like limping under the gun, it's a little harder to work into your overall strategy. You can still do it and stuff, but
won't be as often.
Yeah, it's nice having this kind of structure, and then having the ante. Basically, it gives everyone a chance to put some more interesting or kind of what I would call funny plays into their game, and even if it's not perfect, they can get away with it a bit. So this could be quite a big hand here. So Ivy raised, Patrick I'm sure will be raised, and I don't expect Ivy to fold. He has king-queen suited.
I never expect. I expect everything and nothing from him.
Ivy and Patrick have obviously played a ton of very big poker against each other over the years, but actually the last few years I don't think they've played too much.
In a game together? Ooh.
I'm sure they've played some, but I don't think it's been. The three of us used to play against each other all the time, and the last few years I don't think Ivy and Patrick have played very often. I haven't played with Patrick very much myself.
This is such like back in the day situation.
Okay, so this could be quite a big pot. You had given a spoiler about some fireworks. I wouldn't be shocked if it was this.
Oh no.
now you're ruining more.
No, because it hasn't been. We're 30 minutes delayed. I'm just teasing.
Okay, so
I'm not
now
ruining.
Patrick flop top set here. He has a lot of options here. I wouldn't be surprised if he checks. I wouldn't be surprised if he bets. And I don't expect Ivy to fold unless Patrick bets huge. Yeah, so Ivy bets only, or Patrick bets only 40,000. Ivy's not going to fold here. I expect him usually to call and hope to hit on the turn, but sometimes he'll raise the flop here. And now if a 10 pulls off, there would have been a really big pot there.
Oh wow.
So now this is a little bit of a funny spot for Patrick actually, because since he has 2 aces, there's not that much he can hope that Ivy has to be able to call him really big. There's 1 ace Ivy could have, maybe Ivy has King Jack or something. Probably Ivy doesn't have a set of jacks or set of sevens or he would raise the flop. And so this is a pretty interesting turn for Patrick to check if he wants. But it also makes sense for him to make another bet some of the time, especially with Patrick's history, that he a lot of times can put a lot of pressure on people. And if I was in Ivy's shoes here with King Queen, you know, I would be cranky and unhappy, and a bunch of the time I would end up folding, but I sometimes would also think back through all the hands that Patrick shows up with 8-9 or something here and call on the turn. And I think that's what Ivy's thinking through here. I expect him to fold, but I wouldn't be shocked if he calls.
It's just so fascinating. There's no emotion on his face. It's just like from the beginning until the end, it's always the same face. It's just so crazy.
And this is a little bit of a, you know, a little unusual of a call, but not a big surprise. And now Patrick, I expect, will bet again.
If I were Patrick, I would be probably just like laughing right now, be so happy. I mean, this is just so much work just to stay, you know, serious like that.
Oh, I see you in the background over there, Tatiana, even though you're commenting.
I am multiplying. Wow.
So the same thing I had said earlier, how Patrick has 2 aces and Phil can only have 1, that still applies. And that's, I think, part of why Patrick's betting so big here. He doesn't expect Phil to often have a hand that's just 1 pair, like an ace-10, king-queen, something like this. He's hoping that Phil has something like 2 pair or a set and is going to feel like he has to call. And Phil just quickly folds it there. Doesn't try to be heroic.
Seems like he wants to.
That is a big pot.
Bet fold.
This blind?
Do you think it's easier to play with chips or with the plaques? I feel like they're kind of
I
be a
don't
little
really
clumsy.
like plaques that much.
No.
Yeah, I find them, they kind of make the game more awkward and stuff, and
And it's harder to be cool when you throw in the.
yeah, it all just feels less splashy. I don't like it that much. For a TV game, it doesn't matter as much because you have the high rail thing, so it's already a little bit uncomfortable.
But I did hear that people love playing with them. I think they had them at the Million Buy-In in Vegas, because people are like, oh, it feels very James Bondy.
Yeah, I think that's why they do it. So I don't know if you noticed, there was Paul there was asking what the action was after a pot that was 400,000 when Patrick bet another 400,000 on the river. And the reason I'm pointing that out is like Paul actually can play quite good at poker, but he's a businessman who has quite a bit of money, and so people like that sometimes you'll see. For example, there had been a 30,000 pot where Jason Kuhn bet 8,000 and he was asking what the hand was, and yet then he was busy the next hand and missed a 400,000 pot where Patrick bet 400,000.
Shit's getting too weird for me.
Okay, and Jason's confused because you have 2 people just calling, and so Jason's not used to playing games like this.
So that's
Two people just calling and not raising.
Juicy.
Did he say
And that's-
juicy?
yeah. Paul said juicy, and I would expect he should raise here. He should make it 25,000
Wow,
more or
that's a lot of
something like
people.
that. King Queen's a pretty good hand, and he's probably ahead of what everyone has, unless they're trapping him.
360.
我看一下，澳门买个房子就在我隔壁。
And so here,
Michigan
Paul
somewhere.
Paul meant to say 36 and said 360.
Oh.
And this is the kind of thing that, basically, a table like this, you know that person's not angling. There's not really an angle
Yeah,
there
yeah.
where they could be trying to do something tricky by saying 360. No one would ever raise to 360,000 when only 4
Correct.
people called. And so in most normal cash games that I've played where there's not shady people, something like this, you would just let go.
Yeah. But in Vegas,
And that's
I
what
don't
everyone
know.
did. Yeah, sometimes if you're at a casino, someone will get called on that, but obviously it would leave a bad taste in
Yeah, of
anyone's
course.
mouth who did, because that's not really in the spirit of the game. Especially as he's sitting there drinking Macallan, right? You don't want to show up to a game like that if you're going to get
Exactly.
stuck putting in the 360. And,
Yeah,
and
but
as a
it's-
poker player, I think you often do want people like that playing, right? Someone who's
Yeah.
relaxed. And sorry, what?
Oh no,
okay,
I was
go.
just saying that I would hear that even when they're playing tournaments. Sometimes people are like, oh no, actually I meant this and I meant that, and it's like, it's really annoying.
Oh yeah, tournaments it can get quite funny because it's, everyone has the same rules, but then it can be funny where sometimes I've seen some of the really big, what we call VIPs, like the really big fish from Macau, get stuck in a spot where they clearly weren't angling, didn't mean anything wrong, but they
Yeah.
didn't put the chips in right, and yet I've seen other people that did try to pull something a little funny, so
Yeah,
it's
so
a very hard thing to balance.
Yeah.
Oh wow, and so this should be a huge pot. We have Paul flopped a set of 9s and Elton flopped a set of 7s. Now there are 3 hearts on board, which could make the pot a little bit smaller, but I still expect it'll get very big.
Just to
And so
reconfirm.
Elton bets
Full
40,
house bet bigger than flush, right?
Of course.
and so Paul's making a joke here because when we play short deck, we for about the first few years it was played, everyone played the normal way that a full house beats
And you do not
beats a
have a wheel
flush,
draw.
and just lately about the last 6 months or so, everyone started playing that a flush beats a full house because flushes are less common. So that's the joke Paul's making here,
My card cannot be offsuit.
and then he's talking a lot before
Raise.
I'm guessing that he's gonna raise, and yeah, he is with this set. And Elton's not gonna be folding. Yeah, so Paul started this hand with 925,000.
Flush.
They're playing 2,000, 4,000, so that's what we call 230 big blinds, which is pretty deep stacked.
And that.
Yeah.
And a set's a very good hand, but there are 3 hearts on the board. So 230 big blinds with 3 people in the pot is a pretty big amount to get in the middle on a 3 flush board with middle set or bottom set, but I still expect that that'll end up happening a lot of time depending on what the turn is here. And that's partly because Paul and Elton both have a history. They both play big pots against each other. Sometimes they try to bluff each other.
I can't even speak English.
Yeah, and on this card it's a offsuit 3, so it's going to be very hard for Elton to fold here. I think
Yeah.
just about whatever
The
Paul
poorest
bets,
place in the United
Elton's
States,
at a
so I
minimum
wasn't-
calling and very often going to be shoving because Paul only has about 800,000 left and the pot's 326. So if Paul bets, say, 200,000,
Yes.
if I was in Elton's spot, I'd probably call, but I wouldn't be surprised if he shoves here because
你会说什么？3种。
I've seen Elton and Paul have a lot of times that they get in, even though they both generally play pretty tight, they can sometimes get in some
Is it
pretty
an ego thing?
loose hands against each other. I'm not sure. But so I think Elton might be thinking if Paul bets 200,000 or so and he shoves, maybe Paul has kings with the king of hearts or aces with the ace of hearts or something, and Elton can get the money in ahead.
Actual information is 1 piece of information, 2 pieces of information.
But also it's very possible. I think the right play if Paul bets 200 for Elton here is to call. And I would guess that's what he does, but I wouldn't be shocked if he shoves. And it's funny, if you put these hands in Oh, and Paul bet really big, so he's kind of forcing Elton to shove here. Paul bet 330,000.
It's getting real.
And only has
595.
Oh, this is what he has left?
And
I
then
thought the 925 was to start the hand. Okay, so this is
it
I was
changes
giving
at
some
11.
bad commentary. I'm not a very good commentator here apparently. I talk a lot. I haven't slept enough.
You're
and
I'm the same. So we're the B squad.
we're the B squad. Hope we're funny then. I don't think so.
Well,
At least you showed up there.
Yes, I did. Oh my goodness.
Oh, so there's a 1-minute shot clock apparently.
So there is, yes.
Now, so
Okay, not so serious.
oh, and Elton calls here. So there's almost $1 million in the pot already, and Paul only has 600,000 more.
Look at that.
So if
just
the river is not a heart, they're going to be getting the money in there. Oh,
And here
I guess
it goes.
or an 8 or a 10. There's actually a very good chance this freezes both of them up.
that is a really big pot.
That's true. So basically, in Paul's spot, I think he's going to be checking most of the time, and then I don't think Elton's. This would be a very surprising value bet by Elton. So I expect this to go check on the river.
What's the biggest pot that was televised ever? I wonder how much was it?
I think as of a few months ago, I had won some pot versus Ivy for $1.5 million. But just now, Matt Kirk lost like 4 million euros or 4 million Canadian or something like that on TV. So I'm guessing that they had that beat. I'm not sure. I don't know if that was. I don't think it was one pot, but I would guess they had some pots over $1.5 million there. I think if this had been a different river, this might have been the new biggest pot on TV. But with the river 8, I expect it to go check here.
How long have we been playing? For an hour, and it's already happening? We still have some time. We might push it. Do you think he's upset?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit acting with his moves there, but I think he actually also is upset that the river's an 8 because most rivers I think he would have shoved and Elton would have called. And I think this was actually quite a good play by Elton. Oh wow! And this is a very surprising shove to me. So Paul shoves 600,000 into a pot of a
Now we're
million
at
euros.
1.5. This is bigger than yours.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't negotiate.
And I think this is a good shove by Paul. A bunch of the time because I don't think Elton has many 10s in his range. But I did not expect Paul to do it. I think Elton could call here. I mean, he could think Paul's bluffing, but Paul often in the big pots can play kind of tight, especially versus someone like Elton. But then again, Elton's getting to risk 600,000. He wins 1.6 million, so he only needs to be winning here. I don't know the math, something 27, 28% of the time, something like that, and he has 3 of a kind. And Paul can have a 10, much more than Elton, but it's still not that easy for him to have a 10. So Elton's only really beat by flushes or a set of jacks or a set of 9s, but I think he might expect that a set of jacks or set of 9s Paul wouldn't bet. I'm surprised that Paul's betting them.
It's taking a long time to count all these. What a pot. He doesn't seem very pleased.
Well, yeah, he's definitely not pleased. I mean, I think on the turn, Elton, probably thought he had the best hand a lot of the time. And also, if he had paired the board, would have almost definitely thought he was winning. And on this river, I think he's not happy.
Do you think Paul being so excited right now is a giveaway?
I think Paul is quite good at balancing. He's very used to playing very big stakes poker. So is Elton, and so I think they're both quite good at balancing kind of live tells in big pots and stuff. That doesn't mean you still sometimes get them. So maybe Elton did notice, ooh, Paul seems a little too relaxed here, just like you did.
Oh, you have 7 of nines?
7.
You have 7 of nines?
I played that.
Really?
Yeah.
And see, Rikau is also very surprised that Paul shoved a set of 9s on the river there.